In this video, we're going to look at solving quadratic equations using the strategy of factoring. And the problem we're going to look at is x squared is equal to negative 11x minus 10. So just looking at this problem, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, we can't factor it in its current form. So we know we're going to have to do something so that we're going to be able to factor this. Really what we're going to do is we're going to move all the terms to one side so that we have a trinomial and try to factor it that way. Another issue is the whole reason for using the strategy of factoring to solve a quadratic equation is so that we have a zero on one side of the equal sign, so that we can use the zero product property, because we want to factor it into two things, factors, that are multiplied together to give you zero. And we want to take advantage of a property that says that one or both of those has to be zero. So having all that in mind, you can look at this problem and say, well, we need to do some adjustments. And what I would suggest doing is moving everything from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So to do that, we're just going to add 11x to both sides. Of course, negative 11x plus 11x will give you 0. So we'll have x squared plus 11x on the left-hand side, and all we'll have left on the right-hand side is negative 10. And let's go ahead and move the negative 10 across also by adding 10 to both sides of the equation. So that's going to give us x squared plus 11x plus 10 on the left-hand side, and it's going to leave us with 0 on the right-hand side, which is a good sign because, like I said, we want to be able to factor, and then we want the other side of the equal sign to be a 0, so we can take advantage of that property that makes this problem a lot easier. So now we have x squared plus 11x plus 10 after doing the cosmetic work, and so now let's start thinking about how we can factor this. It is a trinomial, so let's go ahead and write our two sets of parentheses. And let's start thinking about our factors of 10. We have 1 times 10, and we have 2 times 5. So we want to pick the one of those that the two factors can combine through addition or subtraction to give you 11. So of course, the best option, or the only option, is the 1 times 10. So let's go ahead and write those factors, 1 and 10. Of course, we have positive 11, so it's going to have to be positive 1 plus 10. And so now after we factored, we have x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 10 is equal to 0. So now we have two things multiplied together equaling 0. So we can use that principle that says one or both of them have to be 0, because the only way to get a product that yields a 0 is for one or both of the things in the product to be zeros. So let's go ahead and set up our two different equations. We're going to set each of these equal to 0 separately. So we'll have x plus 1 is equal to 0, or x plus 10 is equal to 0. And we're going to solve each of these. So for the first one, we'll subtract 1 from both sides, and we'll get x is equal to negative 1. So our first solution is x equals negative 1. In the second one, we have x plus 10 equals 0. So again, to isolate the x, we're just going to subtract 10 from both sides. And that's going to give us x is equal to negative 10. And so our second solution is negative 10. So this is a quadratic, so we would expect, most of the time you're going to get two answers for these, not always, but that's something to look for. And we got a negative 1 and a negative 10. So if you wanted to double check this, you could always plug the negative 1 in the place of x everywhere you have an x and make sure both sides of the equal side equal the same thing, and the same thing with the negative 10 if you wanted to double check yourself. But that's it.